And we are live. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Beyond the 90. We are trying a new segment today. And thank you for tuning in. My name is Neil. And today we're just going to be going through a few things that were brought up at the press conference. And also, with the January transfer window closing, Leicester have not signed a player for the first time since 2003. And it's looking forward to it. I'm really looking forward. First of all, say hello to Rich. Thank you so much for joining, Rich. I appreciate you, and thank you to everybody for tuning in. Now we're going to get onto the press conferences, and we'll just start straight away. Who is injured for Leicester City? So the injuries are quite long. It's a little bit triggering. It's like going back to the first time we did when we had all those injuries. There is a few injuries today. So the injuries include Morgan, Vardy, Ndidi, Fofana, Castagna. So it's not looking too good. At the same time, we'll go through each of the injuries individually. So we'll start off with Wes Morgan because, I mean, he's not really featured too much in a lot of games. He's probably the one that matters the least out of all of them, to be honest, because he tends to be the one that sits most on the bench. He's out for another 4 weeks. Apparently, Brendan Rodgers said he's nursing a back issue that hopefully will get sorted relatively soon, because at the moment there's going to be quite a few players out. Jamie Vardy has had his hernia operation and I think he's back training with the squad. Don't count me on that, but he's relatively fine to come back. Apart from this match, he will be out for this match. Ndidi will be out as well, which is not great to hear. Obviously, we've seen Mendy fill in, and it's not been the same impact. And we'll get on to Hamza Chowdhury in a bit, and the transfer rumours around him. Ndidi, again, is going to be missing for this match. It was a minor hamstring injury, so I think he'll be out for. Brendan Rodgers said he'll be out for another 2 to 7 days, for example. Wesley Fofana, a brand new injury. He was actually subbed off at 45 minutes for Charles Sionchu, and they found out that is out for 5 weeks. Now, on the good side, at least we've got players like Ricardo and Sionchu coming back from their long-term injuries, which is good to hear. So the last one is Castagna. Again, he won't be available this weekend. We're not too sure how long it's going to be, because according to Brendan Rodgers, they're just keeping an eye on it at the moment. And so, yeah, that's all the injuries. What do you think? Let us know in the comments down below about this. And what is this a good sign? Is this like November all over again? Because even in November, we did have a good run of games, considering we had so many players out. And I know we've just had a loss at Leeds, but something I want to touch on later on in terms of fixtures. And actually, we are doing okay if all things are to be considered. A couple of players obviously coming on to January transfer window. We don't want to touch on it too much, but Nathan Chalobah was linked with us. Then he ended up playing, and obviously he didn't come. I know a lot of fans were divided on this and didn't really make too much sense about what exactly they were going to do. However, it is what it is, and it's managed to finish now with him not being in the squad. Again, with Maitland-Niles, he was another player. Fans were more happy for him to be linked at the same time. And I think he ended up going to West Brom. Part of the reason is that Arsenal didn't want to give their player to a person that's challenging for Europe. And again, at the beginning, you're thinking, oh, that's a clever move on their end. And Richard said, we'll be fine. I think he's talking in terms of injuries. I think we'll be okay. It's just now everybody's going through different forms. So, for example, it just takes a couple of games and a team comes out of the equation. If Man City go on a bad run of 3 games, they come out of the top 4 almost, and then another team will take that position. So we've just had 1 loss. You look at the likes of Manchester United, who have lost 1 and drawn 1. Again, they seem like they're stuttering at the moment, but it's anybody's game at the moment for the top position. But I still think Leicester should be aiming to get the top 6, because anybody can change. Tuchel's coming in at Chelsea. He's got that initial place. Jadon's just come in and said, I don't think we will win the league. I don't think so either. But I'm saying that anybody will be able to come in and out as quickly as possible. So it will be interesting because you've got, again, Jadon's also put, because you've got the likes of City and Liverpool. Again, which is fine. Liverpool will probably have dug on when we do our fixture, which is we will do our pre-match show in a couple of weeks' time, because again, something we're going to come on to, because it is so busy at the moment, and Leicester City have 8 matches. But we'll get finished on this just quickly as well. The likes of Maitland-Niles, obviously, he didn't come in to go into West Brom, which is really good. Well, it's not really good, but for us, it would be decent as well. We have, that's an interesting point James put up. City have Burnley and Liverpool in the next 2 games, which is really interesting. Obviously, the Burnley game isn't that they should beat Burnley, to be honest. Don't know if that's home or away. It'll be interesting to know, Jaden, is the Anfield result Anfield game, is it at Anfield? The Liverpool game, is it at Anfield, or is it going to be at home to Man City? Because I think at the moment, everybody's home form is really dropping, so it'll be interesting to see what happens there. But again, yeah, with the total title race, it's just great that Leicester are up in it. We've played half the matches. We've gone through a long spell. We've seen players like the likes of James Justin, the likes of Castagna, even James Maddison of recent. Obviously, we take the Leeds game with a pinch of salt, but apart from that, Barnes has been doing really well. So these players' trajectories this season have been going up and have been progressing. So maybe having 8 games in one go, in 1 month, which is going to be a lot, especially for us to try and commentate on as well, will be a lot. So it's going to be a busy schedule. So I will just put it on screen for you. Let's see if you can see this. Oh, is it working? Is that one working? Hey, there we go. I've managed to figure it out live on air. So this isn't all the fixtures. Hang on. So obviously we've got Fulham, which is on tomorrow, 3rd of February, if you're watching this in about a day's time. And after that, within 4 days, on Sunday, we go to the Molineux to face Wolves. Then after that, we face Brighton at home in the FA Cup. Again, there's no knockout stages. I don't think we're in the knockout stages just yet, but there's one match decides everything. Saturday, 13th of Feb, we have Liverpool, which is the game that Jaded, again, so they've got City, and I think they've got us afterwards. Correct me if I'm wrong. Thursday, the 18th, we've got Slavia Prague away, which again, I think will suit us. But we'll hopefully get somebody on to preview that. I'm really looking forward to that. So make sure you got a few, a couple of Slavia Prague fans that are coming on as well. You know, the likes of Aston Villa away to Aston Villa, then at home to Slavia Prague. So again, 18th, 21st, 25th, and then the 28th, Leicester versus Arsenal. So that's going to be a really, really interesting schedule, because it's going to be, again, Jaden said it's at Anfield. Okay, that's good. It will be a tough fixture. However, we've seen us come through similar positions where, if you count how many games we're in the Europa League and the teams that we played, because we did play like a half good team at times. And is this something that we're going to really focus on and get better from? Let me know, because I'm not feeling too confident. However, I should be feeling more confident. We've been through a bad spell of form. We've been through a bad spell of injuries as well. And again, we've not got too many players out. You've got the likes of Kasper Schmeichel, which again, he was absolutely at the peak of his career at 34 and is making some of the best saves again and again. Rich has said we're going to get 9 points. We're going to get 9 points put of the next 12 out of the next 12, which will be interesting again with that lineup. We'll just go back to that now. The next 12 games, obviously Brighton, if Fulham should be a winnable game. I think that will be a big tour for us. Wolves aren't doing too well at the moment. Brighton, not Brighton. I think Rich are not talking about the FA Cup as well. So Liverpool, again, I see what you mean. At home to Liverpool, that will be the thing we're going to lose. We might lose. Aston Villa, I think, are an underrated side as well for how well they're playing and what they're going to do, because there is definitely a lack of squad depth. And that brings me on to a couple of players that are currently on loan or currently doing something at the moment. To kind of, I want to get your thoughts on this. So obviously, we didn't bring back Dewsbury Hall. There was something, I'll get the quote for you from Brendan Rodgers specifically about Dewsbury Hall. He's a player in his early 20s who need games time and feels the pressure. There was something in his contract that meant we couldn't get him back. So from that, you know that we've kind of made a bit of an error, that we didn't allow the contract to bring him back like we did with Barnes, for example. Not saying that he will have the same effect, but in the long term, it'll probably be better for him to come out and play in that position and get that experience at Luton, and then come back to us afterwards. Because after a while, it's going to be quite tough, in my opinion, because he's the closest player, in my opinion, to a Yuri Tillemans. And if again we talk about injuries, Yuri Tillemans for me is one of the underrated key players. Obviously, Leicester fans know him, and he's been performing absolutely brilliantly at the moment. Even though a lot of the balls don't work out, the ones that do and the riskier ones are the ones that we end up scoring from. So I'm happy that he plays them. He's, for my opinion, is the understudy. Now, a lot of people are saying, can you bring him back? We can't bring him back, I think, from loan, because we can't have a release, not a release clause, but that kind of thing in the contract. So we're looking at that and we're going, okay, who can we replace? Because he will be a player for next season if the likes of Tristan Fuchs, Wes Morgan get moved on. This is a player that I think that will come in and do something amazing. You've got the likes of Tavares, who I think, and actually put this out, he would be a brilliant player to bring in. Dewsbury Hall hasn't got the legs as much. We're looking for somebody that's very similar to Pratt, that can overtake, that can lead the line, and who's got loads of energy in order to break up that position, going from the middle of the park to the front of the front three as well. So which we'll get onto tactics of formations and stuff soon. And then afterwards, we have Tavares, cousin of the famous Man United player Jaden, who you've just said as a Man United fan, Nani. I never know which one to say, but he's at the top four: Liverpool, City, United, and Leicester. Again, I would take that at the end of the season as long as we can get top four. We will have to see. Again, I can't see Liverpool winning it at the moment, but again, these things change so quickly. But back to Tavares, he's the perfect kind of player. Over the preseason, he looked really quite good. I think he's only 19 years old, and also he's been linked with the likes of, I think, Barcelona. I want to say Inter Milan and other players as well. So they obviously see him as a great player. Could this be an opportunity for him to take this role and run with it? He's a tall player, kind of skinny-ish build, and I think he's going to do well for us. However, I don't think Brendan Rodgers is in the plans, but he should be somebody that we're looking at, because the other players that we have in the squad don't quite fit that same role. And we're seeing with the likes of Vardy out. I was talking to Adonis from the Roaring Peacock. You can check out our preview there. His preview on his channel was saying how Dennis Pratt ran him ragged, and something that they picked on a lot. And I was surprising because I didn't expect other teams to pick up on how good he was, because the legs he was working, defensively he was really good, going forward he was really good. And with the likes of Vardy out, we need somebody with that same energy that will come in and really take on the defense, because at the moment, we'll get onto that in a second, Jaden, in terms of backups to Jamie Vardy. We will come on to that in a second. But again, with that position, I think Tavares is the best player that we have in our under-23s. It's something that we do. We bring in young talent and we train them up and play better football. And hopefully that will work out quite well. The likes of Hamza Chowdhury could be another player. And it's really disappointing because I'm a big Hamza Chowdhury fan. I'm a massive, massive Hamza Chowdhury fan. Obviously, come through our academy, so makes an extra. And obviously, being a British Asian, he's a player that I didn't think we were going to have as well. Because at the moment, there's something missing. And we saw last season. So when he first came into the team, I remember the first match, I think he was under Craig Shakespeare against Liverpool in the Cup at home. And then after that, he was introduced into the team against the quarterfinals against Man City, and he played amazingly. I didn't manage to watch the match, but I listened to a lot of the press conference afterwards. But they saying they were singing Hamza Chowdhury's his energy, his tenacity, the way that he works is amazing, and something that I really would have liked to see more. However, in recent games, Brendan Rodgers, he's not really a Brendan Rodgers player in terms of the Arsenal game. I think when Brendan Rodgers came into the team, when Ndidi was out and Chowdhury was brought in as kind of like a 4-1-4-1, and he ran that midfield. He was pushing Torreira off the ball. Give me the ball. Let me have the ball and pushing him in all different positions. And that was brilliant to see. Recently, it feels like he's not that same player. I've not seen that energy. I've not seen the tackling. I've not seen the intensity to his game. And I think Brendan Rodgers doesn't really want that in a player, which is annoying because Hamza's really, really good at it. And it's one of his best qualities, in my opinion. He's going to chase everything down and just hunt it down and put in a slide tackle. And it's something, if we were in the ground, that we really, really cherish. And I think that's something that would be we would look to have as a player. However, he was supposed to be going out on loan, so there was going to be a three-way thing. So between I think Longstaff was going to go to Watford, then Watford were going to give us I forgot his name now, Chalabar. Then we were going to give Liverpool Chowdhury, but it didn't work out, and then they ended up playing him. So it would be, again, as Daniel said, it would be interesting for somebody to get the under 23s and face this new test and hopefully come into the team, because we looked at, so last year we brought in the likes of Thomas. Again, Thomas was a brilliant example. Fuchs was injured, Chilwell was injured, and it was time for somebody to step up. And that person was, because Ricardo was out as well, that person on that side was Thomas, and he's performed absolutely brilliantly, considering how young he is and how much of the squad he's not really been a part with. But Daniel, who do you think we should bring up in that to push into that next level? Because we haven't bought anybody. Okay, let's figure that out. Who are we going to get from the under 23s and give them an opportunity? Because at the moment, Tavares is the one that stands out for me. Is yes, he could come in. So Chitawon, I think the French Thai player could do a job as well. However, he doesn't have the same work rate and the same intensity and the same legs as the likes of a Dennis Pratt, and we need a like-for-like comparison in that. So it will be interesting to see what happens there. Obviously, Damari Gray left. I know James touched on it in the past. Went to Bayern Leverkusen, which again, I think that it's a strange one. I thought we would go to the Championship or something, but however, I think his play and his speed would work out really well for the German league. Don't be surprised, mark my words, when some Leicester fans will be calling, why did we let Gray go? The same thing happened with Kramaric. It just didn't work out here. We gave him the opportunities and it didn't work. But I'm happy to see him go. And this loan window, I think we've got rid of Matty James, Josh Knight. We've got a lot of people on loan and we didn't get anybody in. So who would you have liked to see in terms of Leicester? Because Jaden brings on a brilliant point. The bench needs to improve. Bit more creativity and options if Leicester are losing in the summer. Again, it's a weird one. I agree that out of all the positions, that one would be one of the positions I'd like to focus on in terms of Under seems to have come into his form and he's coming on that side. I don't know why my hand's going all weird now. I'm melting. I'm into the Matrix. I'm falling into the background. I think somebody that we could have really got, I don't know what you guys think, was Minamino, because he would be brilliant in my opinion. He's direct. He's very similar to Under. He's quite young. He's got training. He played absolutely brilliantly for Salzburg. I was going to say Augsburg, but Salzburg. Went to Liverpool. And the thing is, when you've got the likes of Damari Gray, Damari Gray, Salah and what's his face? Mane, and with the Wolverhampton player, not Jovic, again, good. I've just saw your comment, not Luka Jovic, Jota, that's it. Jota coming into form, he's just not going to get in the team. Shaqiri's ahead of him as well. So I think he would be a player for, I think Transfer Market said he's 9 million, he's on loan to Southampton. I think would be a good player. So again, we'll come on to the infamous question, which I know you all really want to talk about, which is, let me find the comment. Do we need a backup striker? Because Perez isn't the answer. And I think Perez, again, I didn't watch the game, hence why I didn't manage to do content on. So thank you, James, and shout out to James. It's his birthday today, so happy birthday, James. In terms of, do we need a backup striker? Yes, we do. More than ever, we do. However, in this transfer window, I don't think we've got the right players and we don't have the right finances to really get somebody in January. A player like Vardy is going to have to rest sometimes. Now, it's obvious as to anybody that Nacho isn't even in the squad. Nacho isn't even. Oh, sorry, he's not starting. However, he's not even going to make the bench, to be honest, because he's not good enough. And imagine if at the same time, if you could take him and put him into a game like the likes of Leeds, where you're playing Perez, he looks lost, and he brings on Under instead, his confidence must be shot. And you take it back to this time last year, where I think Iheanacho goes on that brilliant run of scoring and assisting in pretty much every game, like the starting from the Everton game, and then he just kept being in the squad again. Perez isn't the answer. However, it's the best option that we have at the moment. So I agree. I know you've mentioned the likes of, let me find, Luka Jovic as well. We've mentioned on this program before, and we've had a few American Foxes on as well, so I'd recommend checking out that video as well. And all of them said we'd like Jovic, and he would be a good option. However, he does kind of fit the style of play, but he's a bit more expensive, in my opinion. I think that he's somebody that could do a job for us, and he's going to sit behind Jamie Vardy, but he could come off and do something. He's energetic, he's quick. He would play in a similar position to Perez. So the issue with Perez not being the answer, to come back to your point, is I get what you mean. The problem is we're not utilizing him properly. You play Perez as a front three. So you play him, you play Under, you play Barnes. That way you've got wingers and runners coming off either side of him. He gets the ball. His defensive work is fantastic. His ability to hold the ball and pass it on is great. But in that second half, from what I was hearing, he wasn't making Barnes wasn't making the run, so Perez looked lost, and he needs other people to feed off. He can't just be up there on his own. Last year, when they had Nacho and Perez up there, they worked brilliantly together. If you remember the West Ham game, even though it wasn't brilliant and they changed 10 players, we still managed to get a result, for example. And Nacho still scored in that. So playing him up on his own is the problem. So if you play these three, you're going to have to play three and behind. And the three, you're obviously playing Tielemans, you're obviously playing Mendy. That means you have to push Maddison out to the right or left. And that's not where his position is. His position is where Perez is. So trying to sandwich Maddison and sandwich Perez in that same team together is something that's really quite hard. And that's the problem I think Brendan Rodgers is having at the moment. It's easy to say Perez isn't good enough. Perez isn't the answer. And in the first half, I heard that Perez did quite well. And his work, if you're not watching the ball, off the ball is actually really good. His defensive work is fantastic. I think Richard said a few times as well. I think that he's really good, but he's not been played in the right position. But if you don't play him in the right position, then you have to take Maddison out, and you can't really take Maddison out. So it's a really, really hard position. You've got a striker that's just not having it in Nacho. You've got Perez that's not really working, and you've got otherwise, and you played Maddison. You play him as a top three, and you have to take Maddison out. So it's a really, really tough decision in Brendan Rodgers, and he's going to get slated either way because Jamie Vardy has set so high expectations of himself. However, in the summer, I do believe we will go in for somebody, whether that be Edouard, whether I'd love for it to be Jovic. I think he's a bit too outside of our price bracket and wage. You got to remember that the likes of these top six clubs, as in this season, because some of them have fallen away. Let's face it. The top six clubs, what are they doing? Are they going to? They have high wages, high turnover, all this kind of thing. We don't really have that. The example I use is I heard that Bernard, that now Everton, came to our ground and goes, "Oh, I really like here. Would like to come. This is my wages." And we go, "We can't afford that," and we didn't take him. So Leicester, there's a player that's there, and they're just looking for the right player. So the Under was a great example. We had Barnes come into his own. We need the Maddison-like player. Barnes looks like he is the answer, in my opinion. We just got to get him a consistent run in the games, and he will work out, in my opinion, because you've got two wingers that are bombing forward, doing amazing work. You've got Mark Albrighton, who again needs to have a shout because he was so good. However, for the wingers, something will happen, you know. Again, Minamino is good, but again, at Liverpool didn't work out. At Salzburg, he was really good at scoring goals. I think so. Minamino, for me in the summer, would be somebody I would go for. Something that's kind of flying under the radar. We love a good Japanese fox over here in Leicester as well. So I think the directness and how he presses, and if you've got him as competition for the likes of Barnes or the likes of Under, that would really bring something to the team. And he's not that expensive. I think Liverpool only bought him in for like 4 or 5 million or less than 10 mil. And I thought, that's a player that we really could do with. What happened? Jaden Alsa asked, what happened to Ricardo Pereira at right back because Castagna has started all the games? Yes, this is something that we have mentioned time and again on our channel. So Castagna is now injured. He will be out for, they're not sure, but it's a little hamstring injury. Again, it's a similar thing to Ndidi and similar thing to Fofana, I think, as well. So it's all in a similar area, which is something to look out for. And we've done all right with injuries, but this season it's really impacted us, I think, for a number of reasons, because of just the amount of games and the competitions and things. We're bound to have it. So now that Castagna is injured, Ricardo will come back. Ricardo has been out since March with an injury, and he's just getting back into it. My only issue with Castagna being out is that Ricardo is going to be slowly brought back in. However, as I showed you before, in terms of these fixtures, we don't really have a lot of wiggle room. I mean, you could have Justin back in, but he's played every single game pretty much so far. I think he had a break against, can't remember who it was, but he had a bit of a break. You've got Thomas, who can play on the left or left wing position, left wing back position as well. So you've got a couple of players. Daniel says, I'm scratching my head at spending 30 million on Perez. I know what you mean. I know what you mean, that Perez is a lot of work for Perez, but I thought he was the answer, because what you needed, in my opinion, was somebody like a Perez or a Richarlison. Again, we're seeing the differences now. And a player that can play as a front three, but we could take Jamie Vardy off, play him through the middle, play somebody else in, and he can work in all three positions. A really rugged, and Perez hasn't got that discipline, to be honest. And that's not that much of an impact, to be honest. I think he's been okay. But yeah, that's pretty much all I've got. Do you need Perez? Perez was a panic buy? No, I don't think so. I think he wasn't the player that we thought he was going to be, that Brendan Rodgers thought he was. Because at the end of the day, when he finished that season from, I think Rich mentions this a lot, he's got a friend that's a Newcastle supporter. After the second half season, he was fantastic. He was brilliant. I think his position is best when, if you watch when he's played his best football, Maddison comes off, he slots into the 10. That's where his best position is all round. So again, it was a little bit more money. And again, James, a panic buy and 30 million on Perez. Again, we had that money from Harry Maguire. And one thing I want to mention as well is that the money is tight at the moment. I think the training ground has a big lot to do with it. In the short term, we'll have to suffer, but in the long term, we will, in my opinion, get a lot of good stuff from it. Again, as Ian's just said, just as we're talking about Perez, he's done quite well behind, and I totally agree. As James Maddison is coming back from an injury, we've had to play Perez in that number 10, and he has been decent. James Maddison is on another level. However, trying to shoehorn Perez as a striker is not. He looks lost. You can just tell, he goes, lads, what am I doing? Come on, help me out a little bit. And it's not his best position. He gives you more defensively than Maddison, for example. So I don't want to slate Perez, because I think he's being played way out of position at the moment. And there isn't really anything we can do about it. So we just got to kind of take our time. But let me know what you thought of this kind of setup and whatever. It's a little bit live. I will... Obviously, we touched on Fulham. We've got, again, as Jaden said, Fulham's going to be a tough game under Scott Parker. And their last 5, I think they've lost one game which is against United. However, I think they've drawn pretty much every single game. So it's going to be a time that I think he's going to. I think we'll have a good game against Fulham. It will show what our team's made of, if we can turn that form back up and come towards it. Because, again, I think we've got a decent team. We've got a decent shot of doing something well. In the Premier League, maybe in the FA Cup, it's my least favourite. And against Prague, which again, we've got hopefully somebody coming on, and we're doing a pre-match with them, which would be really, really good. And there's a lot of good stuff to look out for. But it's going to be a busy February, guys. So make sure there's going to be a lot of content coming out from Beyond the Nine. So make sure you're subscribed. We've got a post-match tomorrow. We've got plenty of little videos on our channel as well. So make sure you check them out. So I'd like to thank, Jaden, Daniel, who else? Rich as well, and Ian just at the end as well. So appreciate you all coming on and checking out this video. And let me know what you think and how this format works out. Again, it's not very often that I do videos on my own, so I'm looking forward to bringing in some people using this software and how we're doing at the moment. Oh, I forgot to put my banner on. Oh, I do it at the end. There we go. Look at this. I put all the effort into it, and then well. So yeah, thank you so much, guys, for watching. I appreciate you, and thank you so much. And we'll see you tomorrow for post match for the Fulham game. So goodbye. Thank you. See you later.